Good morning, everyone. Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, Union Minister of Education, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, distinguished educationists, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of India Today magazine, I'm delighted to welcome you to the India Today Education Conclave. This event, as we know, comes at a very critical juncture in the country, especially where the education system is concerned. We are also delighted and honored that Mr. Pradhan, despite his busy schedule, has agreed to be the chief guest of the function and deliver the inaugural address. Mr. Pradhan has specially flown back from Uttar Pradesh. I will not discuss the nature of his business over there. And after this function, he is leaving to Bihar, and you can understand just how busy he is. So let's give Mr. Pradhan a very warm round of applause for coming here. At 53 years of age, and you can see how young he looks, Mr. Pradhan is one of the most dynamic ministers of the Modi government. Till he became the Union Education and Skill Development Minister in July last year, he was Union Minister of Petroleum and Gas. Popularly known as the Ujwala man, he is credited with the success of implementing the Pradhan Mantri Ujwala Yojana that saw 8 million LPG connections, am I right, sir, or more? Mr. Pradhan, 8 or 10 million? 9.1 million. Sorry, I'm updating myself. Being provided to women below the poverty line for families in the last 7 years. It has been a game changer that has significantly reduced the energy poverty among the underprivileged in India. So let's give him a very warm round of applause for that as well. As Petroleum and Gas Minister, Mr. Pradhan also laid down and implemented the hydrocarbon exploration and licensing policy that has made a huge difference to exploration and investment in the sector, apart from generating sizable employment and making India more energy secure. I could go on, but we need to now come to the subject, and I think Mr. Pradhan in many ways is qualified to speak on it. Mr. Pradhan is a former ABVP General Secretary for Odisha, where he obtained a Master of Arts from Utkal University. Subsequently, he became president of the BJP's National Youth Organization, and now as Union Education Minister, he would have to bring these skills and much more to meet what one would call the grave challenges this critical sector faces, and of course, the giant opportunities it offers. Pradhanji, it's now been almost a year since you took charge, next month or just a week away from that. And the first big problem, as we know, and you know, is to bring back a new normal to business. For the last 2 years, the COVID pandemic saw all our children out of both schools and colleges. They had to be shut down. And now we hope that this year, the kind of disruptions that happened will soon be a thing of the past. We know the virus is still around. It continues to spread in its own way. But thanks to the government's vaccination program, we have seen a huge reduction in the cases of serious illness amongst us. And we now hope that the children, the new vaccinations that are coming out for them from India and abroad would help our children and also make them feel safe when they attend schools and colleges that's there. The plus side of all this, that was the negative side of us losing out on our children's education, is that there's been a huge boom and innovative solutions that have come about in the process of learning, particularly in the fact that physical classrooms have moved to computer screens and mobiles. And there was tremendous cooperation from the parents, teachers, governments, union government particularly, and civil society organizations who have collectively worked in these last 2 years to ensure there's some sort of continuum to the studies, particularly during the pandemic lockdown periods. There has also been a parallel boom in education technology that we are all aware that suddenly seems to dominate the entire education sector, rightly or wrongly. And currently there's something like 4,500 education tech companies, which have, and just 500 have come out in the past 2 years and grown phenomenally. We now hear of unicorns and the next stage, the decacorns, and they've all done this in record time. This, of course, has enabled the rapid spread of digital education, but there are some worrying concerns with the explosion that has happened. I think Mr. Pradhan is dealing with those concerns, and we can probably talk about it when he speaks. is the issues of quality, the issues of monopoly, and the fact of certain financial exploitation that could happen because of the fees being charged. Another concern that has been exposed during that, and that is a far more serious concern, not that the digital one isn't, but the fact that in terms of infrastructure and facilities, particularly in remote areas for internet and computers, is severely lacking. And it was shown that just before the pandemic struck, 78% of schools in India did not have internet facilities, and more than 61% didn't have computers. We hope that figure has improved in the last 2 years, and certainly we need dramatic improvement on that front to bridge this so-called digital divide. And Mr. Pradhan, maybe you could talk of some of the major initiatives that you all, the ministry, is doing to help bridge this and enhance digital literacy. There is also evidence that the prolonged closure of schools have impacted learning considerably. And a recent study by the Asim Premji University, which was titled Loss of Learning During the Pandemic, found that as much as 92% of our children had on average lost at least one specific language ability from the previous year across all classes. This learning gap and the danger of this is that it might trigger disinterest in the children, leading to an increase in instances of dropouts, and this needs to be tackled. While these are issues of immediate concern, there is now a need for accelerating the new education policy, which the Modi government cleared in July 2020. It promises to bring about a revolution in education practices by fundamentally changing education from nursery to university. It has 5 key pillars that it has been constructed upon to bring about success, and these are just briefly equity, affordability, quality, and accountability, apart from access. It has set 3 major ambitious targets, and Mr. Pradhan is well aware of that. The first among that is that, and a very laudable one, is to ensure that no single child in India is left out from the education system. The target is now 100% gross enrollment in school education by 2030. In doing so, the policy hopes to bring almost 2 crore children who have either not attended school or dropped out back to classrooms. The second big target is in higher education, where currently only 1 out of 4, or 27% of our school students enroll in colleges to pursue higher studies. Under the new policy that has been unveiled, enrollment ratio, as it is known, is to be doubled to 50% by 2035. What that means, and that's an enormous target for governments and private sector, is that they have to establish 3.5 crore new seats in colleges, universities, and other higher education institutes. So there's tremendous opportunity there as well to be taken, as well as the challenge of ensuring quality. When it comes to school education, as you all know, and since you're all education experts, I'm not going through that, is that the policy takes into cognizance the new research that indicates that children's brains are 80% developed by the age of 8. So this has underlined the very critical importance of early childhood care and education, which is called ECCE. The old 10+2 system that all of us went through, I think Mr. Pradhan also must have gone through in his college days, is now being changed to the 5+3+3+4, that's 5+3+3+4, yes, restructured school education system that is designed to ensure proficiency in reading with understanding and numeracy by the end of class 3. When it comes to higher education, there is also a radical reform that is now underway. It envisages, as you all know, a 4-year undergraduate degree program with a foundational layer of liberal arts learning for all study programs. It has certified multiple exit and re-entry options, and we were talking of, when just before we came here, Mr. Pradhan was talking about the importance of skill development and vocational education, and that is going to be an important component that will get into the degree stage in our education system. The policy also envisions the setting up of a higher education commission of India with an umbrella body which will have 4 independent verticals. The problem earlier was that these were all combined, and now there is distinct functions of regulation, accreditation, funding, and academic to be set aside, and certain standards be set for that as well. These, as you know, are just highlights. The new education policy is a vast document that brings radical change. And there is, of course, need for there was a setback as soon as it was announced because COVID was rampant and it couldn't be implemented with the speed that it should. I'm sure with a dynamic minister like Mr. Pradhan, he has put that on the fast track, and we should see far greater results that is happening. And we have seen some of that are happening already, where there is now entrance test for admission to undergraduate courses in central university colleges. Of course, there's a demand to extend that. A lot of students are unhappy with the fact that it is so quickly being implemented, but sometimes speed is good, and other times it's controversial. And there are, of course, other programs that are in different states of execution, which I think the Honorable Minister could touch upon when he addresses us. Finally, we're also here to celebrate excellence. We have among us the winners of the India Today Best Colleges Survey for 2022. The issue has just been released. For more than 2 decades, this survey, India Today survey, has been recognized as the gold standard when it comes to the most accurate evaluation of the country's colleges. We are honored that Mr. Pradhan, the Education Minister, has agreed to felicitate this year's winners. And we have many of the winning principals present here who will also reveal their secret source of success in the next session. So the objective, the larger objective of this, and Mr. Pradhan very pertinently asked me what were the criteria for selecting of these colleges. Let me assure you that we have, the magazine only backs the project. It is done by an independent research agency called MDRA that has a whole elaborate procedure for judging excellence. And those are listed in the latest issue of the magazine. I won't take your time in listing it, but anyone who wants to read it can look at it. But it is over a period of time, 20 years, we have refined it considerably. But beyond that, as I said, the objective of this India Today Education Conclave is to bring together eminent educationists, policy makers, thinkers, and all stakeholders in this vast quest for excellence in education, which is very, very important for our youth and therefore our country. So we hope you would have a fruitful day. Thank you for listening to me, and may I now request Mr. Pradhan to deliver his keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pradhan, let's give him a warm round of applause. Thank you.